Coming to you from UBN Studios in Burbank, California. You're listening to the UNSUGARCOATED podcast with your host, Aalia.
Your favorite host with your favorite social good podcast, back with another incredible episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know by now, our season is completely based on silver linings. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about a social media app, an audio social media app that has kind of taken the world by storm recently. Well, only if you have an iPhone, of course, but it's called Clubhouse. And for those of us already in the community, I can tell you a lot is happening there. People are connecting, networking, and building community. I know for Unsugarcoated Media, we are definitely there. If you hop on Club Unsugarcoated, and you can be part of the stuff we're doing. But aside from that, there's a lot of great things. But like anything in life, there's always that, not all that glitters is gold. However, when I say that, because I think you have to be intelligent enough, like anything. This is an app. If you're familiar with it, great. If you're not, you'll quickly learn about it. But in reality, like the internet, there's some good, there's some bad, there's some real, there's some fake. There's some fake gold and there's some real gold. And what I'm about to share with you today, the gentlemen at least, they are definitely all gold. So I'm excited to share them with you. Let me provide first a little backstory. So a lot of us have been largely isolated for 2020 due to COVID, haven't been able to get out there and have fun, travel the world, do the things we normally do. And so when Clubhouse came along, very quickly, we became supporters of just what was happening there. And I stumbled into this incredible room. I followed a man I knew. A man that I had heard in another room speaking, and we had kind of, there was just something. So when I saw him in this room, I come into it. It was called the 808 Farms Talent Tap-In 5K competition. And, it was just this incredible experience where before long, I'm part of it. And because some of you might not realize this, but I do have a background in artist and repertoire. I worked with music labels back in the day. I worked with artists like Aalia, Genuine, 550 Music, and Boys to Men. I have a side of my life that you guys don't know about. Pretty cool, but I left it. I left the music industry some time ago, but I still have a very big understanding of packaging, and especially being in film and things that we do now. I can speak on those. So very quickly, my friend welcomed me up to the stage. And next thing you know, I'm a judge on this amazing competition that gave away $5,000 to a young aspiring artist. So that was incredible because the last few nights, I remember I got a little nervous. I felt I have a whole new appreciation for American Idol. I have a whole new appreciation for what it feels like to be instrumental in someone else's journey. So with that, this contest, I was very impressed by the artists themselves that were putting critical social messages into their music. So this music competition was very genreless, and it was very cool. You had all kinds of different music, but what always perked up my ears is when I heard somebody using their skills, their talent, their ability to not just create music, but create music with a purpose. So that definitely made me excited. And, and so these men that are behind it, these men that are behind 808 Farm and what's happening are somebody you've got to learn and hear from. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let me share with you. Alexander King is a Nashville recording artist, songwriter, and self-described gasoline enthusiast. During his teenage years and early 20s, he was in and out of jail before he describes as a series of life-changing moments. He says music literally saved his life. Alexander spent the earlier parts of his career DJing and releasing mixtapes for Select O It's in Memphis before he landed a publishing deal at L.A. Reid's Hitco Publishing in Atlanta. King's journey eventually took him back to Nashville, where he independently released 2 albums. Those releases, Reincarnated and American Gypsy, have garnered him almost 3 million streams on Spotify, 30 million views on YouTube. Over the course of his career, he has penned several chart-topping singles and albums that just reached Billboard's top 10 charts in both rap and country, and starred as a cast member on the first and second season of the A&E show, The Big Smo. King's project, titled Raised on Skinnerd and Pac, released in 2018 and is a hard-hitting collection of songs featuring his longtime comrades Yellow Wolf, Jelly Roll, Struggle Jennings, rising Nashville talent Nathan Littlefoot Faust, Miami transplant crooner Brad Jennings, and Nashville's soulful Grayson Hill. As the co-founder of 808 Farm, a production studio you are going to hear all about, he continues to produce and work with artists, and you can continue to hear his work in the upcoming album of American pop singer Austin Mahone. Also, we have the distinct pleasure of having his incredible counterpart and 808 Farm co-founder, BMill. In the early 2000s, you could find BMill spinning vinyl as a house party DJ, and now he is the tour manager of Mr. Alexander King, studio manager at the 808 Farm in Nashville, creator of the Talent Tap-In show, and co-creator of the ever-distinct 808 Farm on Clubhouse, influenced by artists such as NWA, Tupac, Beastie Boys, and A Tribe Called Quest. This Indiana-born man has lived multiple lives in business, as a race car driver, and father to 4 beautiful daughters. Him and Alexander share lots of history together, and he is definitely here to spill the secrets. Just teasing. But they are both here representing the 808 Farm and Nashville, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Alexander King and BMill. How you guys doing?
We're good. We were just both kind of thrown back. The intro was so good. We were both looking at each other like, are we that cool, really?
Yeah.
Really
You're like, that's it, we're done. We can just go now, right? She said everything.
Yeah, like you've done the whole entire thing for us.
What's
here.
left to say?
What's left?
I love it. Well, no,
Thank
actually,
you.
there's a lot. I mean, I definitely shared how we got connected, but I would love to know, first of all, how you both two, you guys have a very long friendship. I know he is he legally your right arm, Alexander? Is
Yes,
BMill?
he is actually.
Like, is that on his driver's license yet?
My right, as we got our new tattoos, our 808 farm the other day. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, he legally became my right arm. Yeah, we did the paperwork. We're done with the LLC.
I love it.
Right Arm Enterprises. Yeah.
BMill, how did you meet Alexander?
I was running a sales company. We traveled around the country, and we were selling magazines back in the day. And I ran into him in Boulder.
Yeah, I was a kid trying to escape my family's curse. Most of the men in my family, jail and prison and death seemed to follow them. So I was kind of trying to get my shit together, and went to Boulder, Colorado to do that. And B and his crew came through, and one of them tried to sell me a magazine, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really at a place to get magazine subscriptions. Keep in mind, I'm like living in youth hostels and like tents in the woods and shit. And they saw something in me. I responded, I can't get a magazine, but I'd love to come and travel with y'all. Wait, you go and hang out on college campuses. So we did that for about a year and a half. B was out for years. He built up huge crews, and he's a couple years older than me. I like to say he's my older little brother. But depends on who got a haircut that day. Today I look younger. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
I was giving him props on his haircut. He looked good. I was like, "Woo, BMill,
he's doing the Elvis thing. He's doing the Elvis thing. It's new." So yeah, we did that for like a year and a half, and then we didn't. I left the mag crew and came home and kind of applied all the stuff I had learned from B, and he was really good at it, and I became really good at it, and it translated into street teams, which was the first thing I did. It translated into gathering, people and setting them on a mission. And that's what a street team is. A mag crew, street team, they're all kind of the same thing. It's very similar parallels. So I came back and did that for a few years, figured out how to get my artistry together. And we just stayed in touch because he was DJing even that early. And I was a DJ too. Or I thought I was, at least. I was trying to be a DJ. And so years went by, and we just kind of stayed in touch with each other. And then technology got better, and we started talking on Facebook. And about 5 years ago, he just popped up at the studio and was like, yo, what are you doing here? What's going on? Why isn't this together? Why isn't that guy doing his job? What's up with that dude? And so, early it was just him coming and helping me build studios. We built a few studios over the last couple of years. 808 Farm is our shining achievement. Shout out to Jim Johnson, our OG. that gave us the opportunity to come here and build the studio with them in the middle of COVID. So yeah, fast forward from 20 years ago to now, we've built a few studios together. We've traveled the country umpteen times together, and now he makes sure that I show up at interviews and that I'm at the show time when I'm supposed to be there, and then I don't miss a sound check. So yeah, it works out.
I love it. How, you know what? I actually kind of want to ask you, do you guys find you inspire each other to work harder and keep going? Or is there ever a moment you guys look at each other and you're like, why am I doing this? Or do you guys just find you both keep going for each other and inspire each other?
All of that.
Yeah. I was just saying the same thing. I was like, let me see how he answers. I was gonna say both. Some days B has a saying. Some days he's killing it. Some days he finds his keys that he's been looking for hours in the freezer, and I think that's like the best description of what it is to be in show business, right?
Right.
Some days you're super inspired by the team, and you're on the bus like, I can't believe we're on a bus right now, or even in a sprinter, and you're like, I can't believe this is what we do, and you're inspired by each other and your moves. And then other days you're like, man, this is like a submarine. I just want to be out of this submarine right now. I don't want to be around these people. I just want to get away from everyone. So, it's especially as long as we've been around each other, and as much as we've accomplished together, and as many times we failed together, that breeds a bond, right? That is a brotherly bond. So I think, like any brothers, there's days where we love each other, and there's days where we can't stand each other, but we always love each other, even when we can't stand each other.
I love it. Are you able to finish his sentences yet, BMill?
No.
No. You never know what's coming out of that one, right? Just kidding.
I have a lot of sentences, so it's not a slight to him. That's more of a slight to me.
I love it. I love it. So, okay. So
we look really wet. It's raining here, and I ran into, I feel the water dripping off my face, so I apologize.
You're like, I'm not sweating profusely. I'm trying to.
I wanted to know, we opened the door and everything. It's just really wet. Tennessee's weird with the humidity, so.
Yeah, well, he told me you guys were a bit concerned you were going to lose power. So
yeah,
thank you.
There was that. There was that. So we're on a charged phone. The only problem would be, of course, light. So if we do lose power, we'll go outside.
Right. Well,
So we have a contingency plan. Thanks to B. I was like, what are we going to do? And he was like, we'll go outside with our son.
Are you the, I know, well, is he the rational one? Is he the grounded one?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm very irrational. I'm quite irrational.
So, but BMill, I know that you, and I say this only because, because I know a little bit about your guys' story. So we won't focus tremendously on Clubhouse because we don't want people to think that we're like getting some residual or some check. But Clubhouse is where we met. And Clubhouse is where I found you guys doing incredible things. In fact, not to mention just the talent tap-in, but also even like when we raised funds for what happened in Texas recently, you guys are using that platform to really advance social messages as well as the music. And so I just kind of want to ask, I know BMill was the first one to get on there. BMill, you jumped onto Clubhouse first and then eventually dragged Alexander on, and we'll have him talk about that. But what was your initial impression of Clubhouse when you got on?
I sent him the invite.
Oh, you sent him the invite, but he was the one who got on first.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, what was the question?
Your question is, let me give you a clarifying. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, that's like a Clubhouse joke. The question is, when you first jumped onto Clubhouse, what was the first thing that stood out to you? Let me actually just say that. What was your first experience like?
Yeah, at first it was just, somebody said it best a while back. It was like, it's like AOL to them. It was like going backwards in technology, and at the same time, I didn't really understand what the hell it was. So I was like, why does somebody just want to sit here and talk on the phone with 12 other people? It's basically what it was. But when my mind started turning and I seen the types of rooms that were going on, the activities in the rooms, I had an idea of, we got the studio, COVID's about to be lifted, hopefully. And I figured I could use this as a funnel to get artists into do studio sessions, basically. Locally in Nashville. But then I realized it was much more bigger than that, all over the country, plus worldwide. We got friends in, all over the globe right now. So it kind of just morphed into what it became.
Right. So you guys went into this venture. So you started, and actually, I don't mean to speak for you. So from there, you got on, and then what happened next? What led to the talent tapping?
So I sent him the invite for 3 or 4 days. One of our engineers and producers, Kusa, who's also an artist, my daughter Taja, they were all circulating the app and doing exactly what he just said, of kind of like, it's kind of cool. And about 3 or 4 days in, they start pinging me every day, which is a text, basically a text alert for anybody that's watching it's not on Clubhouse yet. They start pinging me. So basically I'm getting text every 10 minutes. You should join this room. We're talking about your favorite subject. We're talking about this. And I'm looking at the things. And I'm like, well, these are kind of interesting things. So I start clicking in a couple, and Precursor, we were in the middle, right before COVID, we had another studio that was kind of designed to broadcast. We were set up with, all our mics from the ceiling and stages that really were podcast stages kind of. We had this 5,000 square foot studio that B and I built to broadcast, but we were thinking it was all visual. So fast forward, COVID happens. We shut that studio down. We start building 808. And then we get the studio done on January 1st. January 2nd, we join the app. About January 5th or 6th, I start popping in the rooms where B's pinging me and saying, listen, I'm listening to Elon Musk talking. This is this DJ that is, so-and-so's DJ, and this guy that runs DistroKid. Because even though there is a whole lot of terrible things, right? It's the Matrix is what I tell everybody. AOL was Ron Killens, R-Truth, who called it AOL. Because it does kind of feel like you're going in reverse. But for me, I felt like I was in the Matrix. I felt like I'd eaten the red pill, and any room that I wanted ever to talk to anyone about that I saw on a TED Talk, or comedians that I loved, or DJs that I respected, they were in these rooms having conversations with people that felt like interactive podcasts, right? Imagine if it was us right here, and now there's 50 people that can raise their hand and input.
Exactly.
So me seeing that, and then B and I talking and going, we just kind of both had light bulbs that went off above our heads of like, okay, there's a lot of other things we can do. Let's start testing things. And one of the first things he tested was talent tapping. And we kind of took a few things we had done before and kind of mashed them all into this retrograde or retro version of mixed show radio, right? Like a pump it or dump it show. Put the records up against each other, let the room vote on them. The person that wins. Initially, we weren't giving any money away. It was, I know you mentioned the 5K giveaway, and I'll let B lead us into that. But initially, we were just giving people advice. And instead of doing a lot of the rooms and a lot of the mix show, pump it or dump it shows, they shit on people's records if they don't feel like it wins. If it doesn't win, it's kind of like, yeah, it just wasn't it, get it out of here. Whereas what we were doing was giving people kind of a panel advice, advise nutrients is what we call them. Flowers and nutrients. Flowers for what we love, and nutrients for how they can make it stronger. And within a few days of us doing that, B said, hey man, I'm gonna put up $50 tonight. Whoever wins the bracket tonight, that's what we call our competition, brackets. Whoever wins the bracket tonight, I'm gonna send you $50. And then that 50 turned into another 50. And then by the end of the week, we were like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. Our rooms are going from 40 people to 50 people to 100 people, and they just started building. And it became the Matrix for real, to where we were outputting the signal as opposed to us just coming and hanging out in rooms and soaking up gems. We kind of got the flip side of it and became this, pirate radio network that was doing a mix show every night.
That's incredible. So I know that you had somebody come in and say, we want to up the ante. So you guys were doing these micro investments, as you call it. And I love that you mentioned the nutrients and flowers, because a lot of people don't criticism is meant to kind of like find flaws in things, which I feel that yours is so much more feedback based. And it's meant to not tell a artist, yeah, you're, like you said, you're crap, don't do this. It's more of like, here's how you can make this better. And so, but you had these other individuals who saw what you were doing and said, hey, let's up the ante, we'll throw in some bigger cash, and you went from micro investments to macro investments. Tell me how that got started.
I'll let B give you that.
All right, shout out to Katie Russia, because Katie Russia is the one that come across me fucks in a room somewhere and
yeah, shout out to all of our personalities.
Katie Russia, Chief Rasta, Earn Peso, E-Dub,
I Am Fame,
Laura, Shannon, love y'all. But me fucks come in the room, LordMob.com. He's got a record label, Lord Mob.
But before that, we went to a $500 night. Remember? That was the beginning. So we were at 50s and 100s, and then
that was Reginald with the Apollo.
Yep.
And
Apollo tonight.
A couple other people. We got the pop to like $500.
They started competing to see who could send, like who was going to send in more money for the night, basically.
Yep. And then me fucks come in, so let's up the ante.
Shout out to Lord Mob, Trillmatic,
from 500 to 5,000.
Right. And by the time you were done with the panel that I so humbly get to serve on, and I really truly do consider it an honor, you were able to attract people from the industry like Candace Brown, Tony Pizarro, the fellow Roots. I'm so sorry, his name is
Frank. Yep,
yeah,
Frank
and Brian Latour. These are people who have been in the industry and have a long.
Jim Johnson, Ian Berg. Yeah, some very inside people is what we call them. People that have gotten inside the gates that artists are trying to get inside, right? And people that have got some first down. Another thing we say on the show a lot of times is no big eyes, no little U's, right? So even though these people, Candy Brown especially, Brian Latour, who brought her in, these are people that sometimes we'll look up at our panel and B and I'll just walk up to each other, shoot each other a text and go, there's almost 1 billion records, or there's over 1 billion records sold worth of experience and accomplishments on our stage from, it'll be 10 people and they're all attached to like 100 million records. So these are people that are attached to Tupac's catalog, and people that are attached to the Roots, and people that are attached to Lil Wayne and Beyonce, and the list goes on and on and on with our very inside people. So initially they were just hanging out. Candy Brown and Brian Latour, Tony Pizarro, who wrote Dear Mama and spent more time with any other person on earth because he was Pac's engineer and producer. So with that kind of level of people, they started coming in and just hanging out and loving what we were doing and helping us judge $50 giveaways, right? Then it turns into this $500 giveaway. Then out of nowhere, all respect to me fucks and Lord Mob and Trillmatic, they just came in and said, yo, we don't want you to do 500 at a time, because that's kind of where we were. They said, we want to do 5,000 at a time. Let's blow the lid off this thing and let's really change somebody's life in a way that we can really see it. And so it just spun. Honestly, we're a little over 90 days right now of doing this, so it's all kind of crazy to us that it spun as much as it has, and that we're on your show. And Coach Lynn Johnson, got to shout her out too.
Yes.
For people like yourself and Coach Lynn that are deeply in the media world, right? And Candy Brown and Brian Latour and all the other people we just listed, especially Jim Johnson, Ian Berg. These are people that have been in our lives in the music business, inside the walls, right? And my career has kind of been in the gate and out of the gate, in the gate and out of the gate, and on tour and off tour. These are people that are real life game changers, right? That were just coming and hanging out with us in this small incubated thing, right? That we're incubating to hopefully take out to Spotify and hopefully take out to YouTube and take out to network, right? Maybe at some point is what we were thinking, but then it just spun to where offers started coming in and other sponsors started coming in and, press yourself. And even though you were kind of inside and got to see it kind of grow a little bit more, than a lot of people, it grew so fast from the second month to the third, or from the first month to the second month, that we just every day we're looking at each other going, is this real? Are these people really calling us after the show, telling us what a great idea this is, and a great, we call ourselves the Ratchet Whole Foods or the Ratchet Trader Joe's, because, it is kind of late night radio. It feels like it is, definitely not your mom's radio station, right? Or your mom's radio signal.
But wait, but I have to interject there. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off just a little bit, because also what made me very passionate about getting you guys on and getting this story out is that, and I have to of course give Karma the artist a shout out, an amazing artist who won the 5K. But on top of that, there have been several artists who were part of the competition, didn't win it, but they have been having things happen for them. They have not only been growing as artists, but they've been having other media opportunities and coverage. And they also happen to be people who have some very important social impact messages. Ration, who is a cancer survivor, wrote a phenomenal, I dare anybody to listen to his song and not be able to freaking dance and like want to just get up and feel good, right?
You won't be able to hold back.
Ryan, who shared about her LGBTQ journey through her music, and when we interviewed her, we found it so profound and powerful that she was able to communicate to her very conservative family through her music. These are some of the things that really stood out to me. So
shout out to Ryan and Ration.
Yes,
sure.
and I know, and you know, you had an opera singer from the Netherlands, you know, Astrid. Yeah, like, and actually she's almost, I think she's in her 60s, and she's a rapper and an opera singer, which, like, talk about genreless.
Versatile portfolio, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What a diversified thing.
And one of the things when we talked about this subsequently, the excitement in your voice about knowing that these things are happening for these artists is what was my takeaway. So for the two of you, I kind of want to ask, knowing that you guys are having this sort of impact, and yes, for anybody who was paying attention, they are looking for sponsors. Like, you got to connect with them because what they're doing is powerful. That I've definitely have said we've committed, finances to support on record.
Thank you.
We support this journey. And what does it feel like for you guys? You know, BMill, knowing that you kind of, you know, you were the first one to get on and do the recon, and this is what's happening. How does that feel for you?
It's kind of surreal. It still is like a little unbelievable as to the impact that it's taken on. So it's definitely, I'm grateful just to be able to provide something that's going to give somebody a platform to get their message out there and get their music heard. It's a rewarding feeling. I don't know. It's like when we finish building something, I have the same feeling. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I just echo.
Sorry, I'm sorry. No, before I let you, we also have to mention Juju Wells, who was a young kid who was homeless, amazing, I believe, and wrote his song in a bathroom on his iPhone, and just an incredible young artist. So, and I say that to you, Alexander, because you have a tremendous background story. Like we said it in the intro. You were in and out of jail younger. Music saved your life. So now, go ahead, answer. Now you can answer.
I think Juju and I have, shout out to Juju, you know, not only for his music, but just for who he is as a person. This was a kid who, I think he's 22. He got shot in the head, almost died. He's been in, you know, physical rehabilitation for a while, for I think 6 months. He's together now, right? Clearly, he came in and you know, entered our contest a couple months ago, but he was on our platform. He was in our rooms and on the show before the contest. So we got to hear his story for 3 or 4 weeks, you know, the different layers of it. And, you know, he started personally reaching out, and I just took an interest in him because he's from Compton and escaped Compton, you know, after getting shot in the head. And, you know, it's in the South. He's down here not too far from us doing his rehabilitation. So during that period, as he's fixing himself, literally putting himself back together, from a physical standpoint, he starts recording on his iPhone. You know, he'd been in the studio a few times before he came here, but no real like engineering school. He didn't go to SAE or Full Sail or anything. He doesn't have any real knowledge. Started recording his music on an older iPhone, not even a new iPhone. And I say that because they've gotten better. So he's on an older processor phone using GarageBand and recorded a song that I want to say made it in our top 10, top 15 or something. Definitely.
He was definitely top 16.
Right.
He was a wild card.
Yeah, he was in our last bracket with 16 people that all went up against each other. So to echo that, to be a part of that kind of story, right, it's just amazing to me. And for anybody that is, you know, looking up Juju Wells, what you'll find is that he reminds you of Nipsey Hussle. You know, and for him to survive the same way that Nipsey passed away, and to be from that same area and to, as of right now, beat his street curse, right? To be able to be just a small part of that is just an amazing thing, right? Because you don't get that opportunity all the time, especially with what we do. Once you get to a certain point, it becomes where you're working on the things that are here, as opposed to being able to see somebody that is, at the starting line and see them grow. So for the last few months, we've been able to watch Juju grow, Ration, Karma, Ryan, Moxie, Jeray. Shout out to our second and third place winners. I know we're missing people. There's so many people that are involved in helping us get this thing together. But what I was going to say is, on the initial part of the question, is to be able to see people connecting, not people that won the contest, because Ration was top 10. He was definitely top 16. I don't know where he fell on the last part of the night because it was all moving so fast. I've never looked back at the total tally of where people placed, because to me, the money was important. But what I always said, and what B always says, and we drill this into people's heads, is the people that are going to win the most are the people that are networking the most and that build offline and that build on, that slide into people's Instagram DMs and say, hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm trying to go to. And I heard you speak in one of these interactive podcast Clubhouse rooms, and I would love your help, mentorship, whatever, right? To see people like Ration end up on ABC morning shows, end up on your show, on podcasts like this, talking about his story. This is a kid that went on The Voice and placed high, and it survived cancer, and it has amazing music. Amazing music. We whittled down these people from 3,000 people to get to the top 16, and then gave 5K to one of them, and have given resources and our Rolodex to anyone who asked for it. Anyone within reason that said, hey, I have something that I feel like you guys can help me fill a hole with. We're open and playing some kind of independent A&R role with people, no strings attached, not A&R like we're trying to get them deals, but A&R of helping them get their records mixed and figure out what they can do to get it mastered and get it more ready for presentation, get a photographer, get a video guy, get their website done, get their PROs and their legalities on their music straightened out, and to see them taking all that advice, taking all those nutrients, applying it to their projects, and then coming back and them going, hey, I just landed on Coach Lynn's show, or I just landed on the Unsugarcoated Media show, or I was just on Gary Archer's radio show today, and that happened from this room. Thank y'all. Right. There's nothing in the world besides my children being born and when they accomplish things that I can say moves me in that way.
That's incredible. And also, Josh Gannett, who, worked with Redman and Method Man, and he's, and I love it, and I agree with you, and it's been so cool to see that. Let me ask you, when you were a young artist, and you really decided that was who you are. I actually honestly feel like when you're an artist, you've always been an artist. You are the art, right? Like, right. It just sometimes take a while for you to really truly recognize that. For you, Alexander, when was that moment when you really knew you were an artist and that this is the path you need to take in life, that you got to follow to be true to who you are?
I think that's a tricky question, right? Because I feel like I knew younger than I really did, but I think it takes, I think even for the first couple of years. So soon as I went out and spent the year kind of straightening out my own psyche and coming back to Nashville and dealing with my legal problems, and then, getting on a straight path. Even on that straight path, it took me to my mid-20s to really fully commit. So there were other things and music, right? So I could say at night, even though I got a publishing deal and, was signed to a couple places and went on some tours. And so you could say at 19, right, was the, when I committed to, I'm going to be in show business, right? Entertainment. But really until I was about 25, I was still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You learn bad habits that make good money, and it's hard to let go of those things, right? Especially if you get kind of good at it, right? And so for me, up until my mid-20s, it was hard for me to let go of things. So I would say about 25, the last time I got in some real trouble. And, you know, just sitting in a jail cell while my friends were on tour, you know, and knowing that I had a lot to do with, I was the one that people followed from Nashville to Atlanta, right? To go down, not like a direct follow, but I went first, right? So seeing people, because now I'm 5-6 years into the music business, and seeing people that were accomplishing things that, you know, I had helped them get to that point to accomplish, and me sit and you know, having years of probation. I had 9 years of probation. You know, that also was obviously a big factor, right? It's like, if I get in trouble again, I'm gonna go to jail for a long time, or I can stay out of trouble. So I walked out 9 years of paper. It was supposed to be 8, and they gave me an extra year. So that helped me stay on the straight and narrow. And, you know, I try to give you the shorter answer, but that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Even when I committed,
It is.
it still took me a while, and having it ripped out from under me. That was what it was for me. Is once I tasted it, I think that was because I was so young, and things did snowball for me. I had some mixtapes that took off, and people were interested in working with me. And when people are interested in working with you, I don't think it's as real as when they're not interested in working with you or scared to work with you, right? So once it got all pulled out from under me, and I wasn't on tour, and I had all this probation, so then it felt like a liability for a lot of the people that I wanted to be in business with. That's when it became real to me, like the opportunity getting pulled away from me, or me pulling it away. It didn't get pulled away. I made decisions that my world came out from under me at about 25, and I walked it out.
That's you know, it's something that's not unseen. For those of you guys know this, and for some of the audience who've heard me speak on it before, my cousin was married. It was the former wife, and to Scott Weiland of Stone Temple Pilots. And I've talked about how and even in being an A&R in music and having to be the one to get an artist in the limo to the venue, and how that can go, and knowing that being on tour, and this is going to be a question for BMill, because artists often jump into this amazing, you know, I'm going to be a star. And there's a lot of traps within it, and the music industry, especially with the exhaustion that comes along with touring and all the work. It's a nonstop. You know, you're a commodity to whatever the label is that you're working for, the venues you got to be at, the money you have to make, right? And often you can see personal demons or issues that get exacerbated. For you as a tour manager, how do you feel? You know, as an artist, I mean, is it important to have a tour manager who, if you're an artist who's struggling, are you the guy looking out for them and making sure that they stay on track and do the things that they're supposed to do and show up? And how has that been a challenge for you?
Oh, it's a huge challenge. I stay busy, but you know, I enjoy it. It's you know, I want to see him shine and grow and you know, be successful. So
Yeah.
After he's done all the tour managing, he also gets on stage and DJs. So he has his work cut out for him.
Yeah.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. It is a challenge. It is a big challenge. Whether it's me or any other artist, you know, it's a lot. You know, you're responsible for somebody. It is in a big way, like being a camp counselor or babysitter. You know, I hate to say babysitter, but it kind of is, right? It's more camp counselor for me because I've been doing it for a while, so I kind of have my rhythm down. But, you know, there's days that there's Murphy's Law and things just go every direction, and the person has to keep their cool, right, when the sound check's not going the way it's supposed to, and the hotels aren't the right amount of hotels, or this vehicle broke down, and this guy's got this in the trailer, but we need it, or we can't do sound check. You know, he's the guy that deals with all of that, and all tour managers. So bless your hearts and souls, tour managers across the world. We appreciate you.
For sure. I want to ask, kind of segue into the music that is now. You guys are, you know, you do produce music. You have this beautiful, and by the way, the audience can't see it now, even the visual, but I've had a virtual tour of, we won't do it now, by the way, guys, but what you've built out there is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we'll send you footage.
But, you know, when I bring up, you know that we are about social good and social impact. And as music producers, I feel that there's a movement within. We just recently had the Grammys, and Lil Baby put a performance with the bigger picture, which was very social justice driven. How are you guys either influencing, supporting, or yourselves as artists seeing this movement, participating and supporting it? I mean, other than obviously what we talked about with the talent tap in, but going back to how your products you're creating, you know, how is that showing up there?
That's a tricky one because we did more building of the studio and kind of planning out during the last year, right? So we haven't had a lot of releases during the shift in America. Shout out to Slamerican. We were involved in a right after George Floyd died. We did a Human Race T-shirt with myself, Yellow Wolf, Jelly Roll, Struggle Jennings, and it was a Slamerican release shirt, and it said Human Race on it. We raised $45,000, I think, and gave it directly to George Floyd's family. Directly after that, a couple months after that, I just kind of felt like politics and the polarization of everything that was going on, I just went on a social media distancing kick. I literally called it social media distancing. I just felt like so much of the energy was arbitrary, and it just felt like an argument on every platform. So Clubhouse brought me back into the scope of social media, and we didn't release anything in 2020. So it has been very interesting to see how things are shifting. In the new projects, we have an album coming out on my daughter. We have an album coming out on Kusa, who's one of our guys here. I have an album, Rosap 2.0, and then another album that we're working on in the background. We have Austin Mahone's album that was the first project that we finished here at 808. So I guess, it's tough for me to answer that because we haven't really been in the putting things out stage, but we supported a few causes and raised some money for some things, but most of what we do is in the background.
How do you as producers feel that? I mean, first of all, I guess I would just say this. Do you feel it's necessary? Do you feel that artists, because I know from my days in the music industry, you didn't put out your personal message through, you say you really focused on putting out things that made your audience happy. And I remember distinctly telling artists, don't do music for you, do music for the audience you're trying to serve, right? Because you just didn't want to turn them off. And now I see a bit of a shift. And do you feel that it's time for that? Do you feel that it's a time where people can and should be putting it in their artistry, some of these messages, I think that's all.
I think that all depends on who the person is and where they are in their career, right? I think that if you come out of the gate, even though it's easier now to lead with your heart on your sleeve, right? And to lead with your social cause, because now everybody's directly connected. The direct to fan or the direct to consumer world has changed things, right? So crowdfunding, now NFTs, and who knows what's going to be.
Don't get started on NFTs. We're going to have a whole episode on NFTs.
Right. But I find them very interesting because I've always found crowdfunding very interesting. I've also always found direct to the tribe very interesting. It's where our success and most of our successes have come in a direct form, even though we've been aligned with some of the labels, and nothing against any of those scenarios. I'm coming out of a Sony deal right now, and I had big success on some Warner projects that we worked on, and I think that the direct to consumer world has made it where it's easier for an artist to lead with their social cause now, because you don't have all the buffers, right? And you don't have all the people in between the artist and the person listening to the artist. Now, on the flip side of that is it's hard to come out and make people believe in your cause when you're just coming out. So I think it depends on what artist is. Lil Baby was in position where he's one of the hottest artists in the world, and he can now say what he wants to say without the fear of losing everyone. He's going to lose some people because some people are going to be like, yo, that's soft. And, who cares? I just want to hear trap music and what, and what he's known for, right? Not that that's all he does, but I'm sure that there were some A&Rs and there were some people in position that said to Lil Baby, hey, you probably shouldn't go this deep right now. most A&Rs and most people that are thinking from a business standpoint, you want to pull that? I'm sorry, we're raining really loud, and I'm sure it's killing the audio, so we're closing the door. So I think that it depends on where the artist is, and I think it depends on who the artist is. Right? I think that us seeing more of it, though, is because social media direct to, which is also direct to your tribe. Right? That cut out the need for someone else to buffer what your message is. And so, yeah, I think it depends on the artist, and I think it depends on where they are in their career. And
I think the community
audience is.
Yeah, and I think the communities too now are kind of having this perspective of, if you don't show me that you stand for something, then I might not, right? There's that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. I want to ask you a question. By the way, you're not alone, obviously, in 2020 not being the most productive year for some people. I mean, I know in film it's been really rough. Like,
yeah.
People are getting projects sold right now just because networks are so starved for content. It's, crazy. But, kind of so our theme this season is silver linings. That is, I think, a quality of resilient nature and learning to see understand that there is always the good with the bad, and it's there. And how have you guys, what is it? Share with me. I'm going to go to each of you. I'm going to start with BMill. Share with us a silver lining for you through all of, this 2020. Tell our audience what one of those things that you find to be the thing that you're like, okay, 2020 sucked, but if that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't have happened. And that's why, to some degree, you can maybe be a little bit more positive about it, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, 2020 had its adversities, but the people that they call it a pivot, I guess, what they're calling it.
It's the industry word.
Yeah, Clubhouse word, pivot. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So,
well, it's not just Clubhouse, but yeah, I know what you mean. Sorry.
Yeah, just making that pivot. So 2020 was really, aside from all the tragedy and the stuff going on in the world, was a great year for me personally. I used it to work on my own mental health and just sort out issues that I've had with. Yeah, I had a lot of time. We all had a lot of time to figure shit out. So
he also grew his hair back out.
Yeah,
in 2020.
Yep.
So Alexander,
barbershop.
Alexander, what's a silver lining for you?
I think all of 2020, now that it's over, is a silver lining. Even though it didn't feel like that for a long time, right? For the first 6 months of the year, it was a lot of adjusting, right? We moved twice. We moved studios twice, basically, because it was the end of 2019. We moved from one studio into 25/8 that B and I built together. And then mid-2020, not even mid, like, a few months into 2020, we shut that down. And then we were static for a couple months and just kind of figuring out what our pivot was going to be. And where we are, 808 Farm now, was going to be a venue. Jim Johnson, our OG, who's kind of the Mr. Miyagi to our Daniel's son, and what's the guy from Cobra Kai's name? What's the guy from Cobra Kai? Johnny from Cobra Kai, right? Jim is the Mr. Miyagi that balances us and has provided, the land for us to build our studio on, his studio, 3 other studios, right? So what felt crazy 6 months ago, of like, yo, we got this venue, none of this is built out, right? The contractors are saying it's going to be 18 months to get it all done. And me and B looked at each other and went, well, we're not contractors, but we play contractors on TV, right? And we can do this. And said to Jim, hey, let's just do this ourselves. Let's at least get your room done. His room, he bought 2 Airstreams. So it went from his room to the 2 Airstreams in his room, then to us finishing out this room, which is the saloon is what we call it, where we work out of, and then a cottage. And so we ended up finishing a studio compound in 4 months, right? They told us it was going to take 12 to 18 months. They didn't know exactly. We did it in a much shorter time. And a lot of that was because we were excited by finally having something to do. For so many months of being static and sitting in this other studio that we built, not able to open to the public, not knowing what the future held. And also for me, I said this to you the other day, but I don't know if we talked about it here. My kids wanted nothing to do with me, especially my oldest one, Taja, wanted nothing to do with me musically until the COVID, right? Because we were all centered in, she was working and she's been a hardworking kid since she was 15, 16. She's had a job. I forced her to play guitar every day for a couple hours a day when she was coming up. And, you know, during COVID, I got this closer relationship with my 15-year-old son, with, you know, my daughter who was turning 20. You know, we had our kids when we were teenagers, both me and B. So, you know, we got kids that really didn't necessarily want anything to do with us until they were right up against us and saw us building this thing and got to really listen to their dads on a day-to-day basis in a way that they probably haven't listened to us since they were little kids, because my daughter was working a job and, you know, recording at other studios, wanted nothing to do with me musically. So there's been a bunch of silver linings. I don't know if we would have ended up in the same, you know, space of the way that we were all able to write together that ended up being the songs for Austin Mahone's album. I don't know, you know, if COVID wouldn't have happened, I don't know that we would have all lined up the way we have. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But, you know, again, it strengthened our relationship with Jim Johnson, my personal relationship with him, because we got to spend months on months building things together, designing studio desks together, designing clouds for the ceilings in the studios, and just crazy things that normally we would just pay somebody to do. Normally we wouldn't be as involved in the process. Normally our kids wouldn't be here watching us build things with our hands, right? Mm-hmm. And then production wise, being able to step away from music for 4 or 5 months and not be in the studio every day and hear saws and hammer things, it just reminded me that I really appreciate that we're in the entertainment business. And I heard somebody say something today, and I thought about it in my own life because I was rushing to get here. It was raining and I felt like I was going to be late. And it was Big Sean. I saw him on something this morning. He said, you know, I used to think I have to do this. I have to be at this interview. I have to do this morning radio show. I have to be at Aalia's podcast for UNSUGARCOATED Media. And he said, now I think I get to do this. So my biggest silver lining is now I'm approaching everything, because it was kind of tunnel vision coming out of 2019 for me, because I had done 90 dates. You know, B was out with me for most of those days. We've done about 90 dates in 2019, and most of that was in the summer and the end of the year, right? So coming out of that, I felt like I have to go and do these morning shows. I have to go do this studio session. It just kind of felt grueling, whereas now building it with our hands and having something that's ours that we can say, hey man, we built this, you know, the physical version of 808 Farm, and then the digital broadcast that we started doing on Clubhouse, that now, you know, shout out to Tony Pizarro, are looking like we're going to be able to take this to other platforms, right? That's incredible. And so there's a bunch of silver linings. I know I gave you a long-winded question, but the biggest silver lining for me is now feeling like I get to do these things again, as opposed to I have to do these things.
Yeah, that's incredible. I get it. And your stories, both of you guys, I feel that just with that, you are empowering other individuals, other artists, and people, you know, who your story resonates with. BMill, tell us one thing that no one knows about Alexander.
I can tell you something nobody knows about him.
Yeah.
How about we both do one?
Okay, yeah. Alexander, he seems ready. Wait, who's going
I'm not
first?
going to do it about him because it's something that
I'm eventually going to have to tell him something.
This is a great time on National Podcast Signal.
You probably didn't know or would think that Alexander can play the saxophone.
Wow.
Totally.
I'm young baby Bill Clinton. They used to call me Baby Bill.
Really?
Back in the day.
Well, when I get out to Tennessee, I'm going to make you do that.
Every now and then, if we're in a music store, I will buy a reed and go pick up a saxophone just to mess with people's heads if we're out on tour and we got to stop to get, you know, strings for a guitar player or something. So, yeah, he knows that, but not many people. Or if you happen to be standing in a Guitar Center somewhere that we've walked in. But I'll save the one that I know about B till a later time.
Okay, the next interview we do, right? When we come back and follow up.
Yeah.
Well,
we hope that you still like us after this and this becomes a series.
oh my, yes, no, I mean, you guys need a series for sure. And to let our audience know, we are going to be doing a full length. We're going to be putting it out. It's a full length actual feature, and we went to all, a few of the artists that were in the Talent Tap In, and we're so excited to share, a bit of them and a little bit more of expanded, and then we're doing the podcast, and yes, more and more to come. For you guys, where can people go to support you? Please tell us. And for the listening audience, make sure you give your handles, any websites.
So the most important places I would say is the 808farm.com, just like it says behind me there, right? The 808farm.com is the site. All of the information will pretty much take you there. If you're on Clubhouse, if you've gotten on there, welcome. And you can look us up there too. It's the 808 Farm. Or is it just 808 Farm?
It's 808 Farm.
Yeah, just 808 Farm on Clubhouse. All my social medias are the same. It's the letter I, the letter M, and then my name. So it's I'm Alexander King everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, MySpace. Twizzler.
With Tom, with your friend Tom.
Tweet. Yeah, I don't tweet much anymore, but yeah, it's the same. It's I'm Alexander King everywhere, and I think he just changed his, so I don't want to botch it. What are yours?
It's at DJ Creek Bill.
At DJ Creek Bill, we got it. It's
DJ Creek. Yeah, we've been having fun trying to come up with a new DJ name for him, and so he stuck with that one for the moment because we did a vote. We gauged it. Shout out to Gager. And Gary Archer.
Yes.
And I also want to shout out, because we missed a couple people, DJ E-Dub, and there was somebody else, Shadiq, I Am Fame, Alana, Allura, Chief, Earn Peso.
And KD, I have to say, KD was I have to say this because I loved it. He was in the middle of helping. So you guys had, the DJs had the rigs, their iRig set up, and they were playing the music through the app. So you would sit and you had two alternating DJs who would play. KD was in the middle of welcoming his child, his beautiful, sweet child.
And doing the numbers, and taking the numbers. He was keeping score of everybody's score at the hospital, literally for our finals. So KD, is not only responsible for bringing in one of our biggest sponsors, for being our overnight DJ. Shout out to the Boom Boom Room. That's his room on the app. And we hope that extends out into the rest of the world. But yeah, we just got an amazing operations team. Again, shout out to Brian Latour, Candy Brown, Tony Pizarro, Coach Lynn, everyone that's helped us keep this thing going. Ian Burke, Jim Johnson. There's been so many other people besides me and B that it's tough for us when we do these things. Now that we've done a few, it's like, man, we want to say all these people's names over and over because honestly, it doesn't happen without everybody.
Right.
It takes an operations team of about 8 or 9 people because we're running a 24-hour signal. Sometimes we'll run for 52 hours and it'll be like 5 different shows that run for hours at a time, and then DJs that come in and take up, and fill in for each other. So yeah, just blessings to everyone that's been a part of the 808 Farm. And we love all of you, and we love you for having us, and we're grateful and appreciative of everybody on your team too for coming through, Ange and yourself, everyone that's come through from UNSUGARCOATED to hang out with us and bringing us on your show, putting light on us.
No,
thank you so much.
You guys deserve it. I think what makes it easy is that I think that's what's so amazing. You want to keep throwing shine. You recognize that there's a squad behind you, and you make it easy to want to support the both of you and 808 Farm and everything that comes with that because of the energy and and genuinely I sense an altruistic, I know a lot of artists who just focused on bringing themselves up. They're not interested, they're just so focused on climbing that ladder that they're not always interested in lifting up. But you not only have reached a certain level of success for yourself that I know will continue to grow for the both of you and 808 Farm, but also you're so passionate about bringing everyone else and giving that shine. So I think you make it easy and you empower others by doing that. So thank you, guys.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, and thanks. We will definitely be following up with you, and and we just can't wait to do that. So thank you so much for being here today with me, you guys.
We're so happy to be here.
I appreciate you. To the audience, I want to thank you so much for staying with us. And I hope that you have been inspired. Actually, I don't hope. I know you have been. If you haven't been inspired, then you're not really paying attention. I want to say thank you for all that you do with us. Please stay connected. Please support Unsugarcoated Media by subscribing to our YouTube channel, our newsletter at www.unsugarcoatedmedia.com. And don't forget to follow both me and Unsugarcoated Media on Instagram so you can see all the silly things I do, but also the serious things that we do there as well. So until next week, you guys, we'll see you soon. And thank you so much for letting us be Unsugarcoated. What are you still doing here? Come back next week.